Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, Kestra IS, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC, Kestra AS, an affiliate of Kestra IS. Capital Advisory Group, Inc. is not affiliated with Kestra IS or Kestra AS. Neither Kestra IS nor Kestra AS provide legal or tax advice and are not certified public accounting firms.
You work hard for your money. For the next hour, you're going to learn how to keep what's yours. Capital Advisory Group presents Keep What's Yours. Here is Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Hello and welcome to Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, happy Saturday.
And hopefully everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Had a adventurous Black Friday.
Yes.
Today, Small Business Saturday.
That's right.
So hopefully you're out in your car, you're going around to all the small businesses in town and showing them the love.
That's right.
And then, I don't know, Cyber Monday, something Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, it's starting to get, Giving Tuesday.
Yeah, Giving Tuesday, that's
Giving
right.
Tuesday. Don't spend everything.
Got to wait till Tuesday.
Yeah, give some back. So we are here to talk taxes, talk finances, talk what's going on in the news. And first and foremost, Jeff Zufall is the Senior Tax Strategist with Capital Advisory Group. He's also a wealth advisor. So you are in the unique position, Jeff, where you can look at our retirement, what we've been saving, give us advice on what to invest in, say you've got, Josh, you've got another 30 years before you can retire.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Just moved back up to 72 now.
Yeah, I got another 30 years of this. And then say, let's do this, that, and the other. Let's get a little aggressive because you got a lot of time to make it up if, things go sideways. But let's do this, and then I can talk to you maybe about another 10 years and say, hey,
yes,
all those taxes that I've, kind of
deferred and put off.
Yes. I'm starting to wonder when I'm going to eventually have to pay those. If you've got an IRA that's tax deferred and you're looking at your account and you're, I got $1 million in my tax deferred IRA. Well, no.
The IRS is your partner.
Yeah. There's $1 million total.
Yes.
But some is yours and
some is theirs.
The IRS.
Yes.
It's up to us to determine how much they actually get, though. Because if we take it out and we don't really have a strategic plan, we might be taking it out at a 24, 28, 35%.
Yeah, it's very possible. And
tax
paying
rate.
the highest possible, because of the combination of income that you have coming in the door, you could be paying the highest possible rate.
And if I was in a position where I could start, let's say I found the dream home.
Yeah.
Okay, and I said, Jeff, I want to tap into my IRA. If I took out a big chunk, $100,000, $200,000, to help pay for this dream home.
Oh, it'll kill you.
It's going to kill me on taxes.
Seriously.
But the question is, Jeff, I really want this is the house that my grandkids are going to visit me in. Maybe it works out.
We have those conversations. We'll run the math on it and tell you what it looks like. Sometimes it's scary on what the numbers really come out to be.
If I pull out $200,000 on top of what me and my wife make on a yearly basis, that counts as income.
Yes.
On top of what we already make.
Exactly.
So it could push us into $300,000, $400,000.
Oh.
And what's that tax bracket?
You're probably every bit of 30 as you go forward with state, federal. So.
And 30%, an extra 6 to 8% of $200,000, that's $20,000, $30,000.
Oh, yeah.
$1,000.
It's a bunch.
That you didn't have to pay.
Exactly, that you did not have to.
That you nominated yourself to pay
Yes.
to the federal government. So the idea is have a plan in place when you're saving and also have a plan in place when you go to start taking that money back out again.
Most definitely.
Because you'll owe taxes on it. The only question is how much in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to keep that tax bill as low as possible. That is called tax strategy. That is what Jeff does, Senior Tax Strategist.
Yes.
And the more money you don't have to pay to the federal government in the form of taxes, the more money you get to keep in your own pocket.
Yes.
Hence the name of the book Jeff wrote, the name of the show that you're listening to right now, Keep What's Yours. How to leverage the new tax law to create unfair advantage over your competition. That's kind of the colon.
Yes.
A
little long-winded, but
the longest version of the book. But it says create advantage over your competition. In this case, the competition is the federal government.
Yes.
And the tax code.
Yes.
And whatever we can do legally.
Yes.
Inside that tax code, we'd be fools not to.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to stress that the tax code is probably written for corporations and for rich people. There's a bunch of stuff in the tax code that doesn't even pertain to us at all.
Tons, yeah.
Charities and corporations and all that stuff. That doesn't pertain to me. But there's a little section that really...
There's a good chunk for us.
This is for Josh and people like him.
Yes.
And written in that section is actually beneficial things for us.
Mm-hmm.
Things that I can take advantage of to save a little bit on taxes.
Yeah.
And they'll do that. They'll say, look, Josh, you got a kid in school. You got to pay his tuition. Fine. Yeah. Why don't you save some money in an FSA? Jeff set it up for us. Jeff told me about it. Save some money in an FSA. We'll kick in. We'll let you keep that money. We won't let it be taxed. You can pay for school with tax-deferred money. And in effect, we are keeping 24% of $5,000.
Exactly.
And that
year in, year out.
Year in, year out. That's $1,200 in my pocket that I wouldn't have unless I created this with Jeff's help, and he can do the same for you. Calling the office, 636-394-5524. That's how you get the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. Just give us a call.
And say, I want an appointment. I want to come in. I want to do what Josh is doing, or I want you to look at my stuff.
The Josh plan.
Yeah, and tell me if...
Trademark.
Yeah. Does the Josh plan work for me, or is there a Joe plan?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
A Linda plan?
Everybody's going to be different. There's very few people that are, identically the same.
Right.
So everybody's going to have a little bit different scenarios that are applied to their situation as you go forward.
I mean, even if somebody has the exact same job that I do, their wife works at the same company that my wife works at, but they have 2 kids instead of 1.
Changes it up.
Changes everything. So give Jeff a call, 636-394-5524. Say, what can you do for me? Because regardless of who it is, there's probably always something.
Or something. Even little things that can be applied.
Even the little things. I was talking to my mom. I picked her up from the Eagles concert a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
They went to go see him, and, at intermission.
You were the Uber driver?
I was the Uber driver. They ran out in front of Enterprise Center, 14th and Clark, and I picked him up off the streets. But on the way home, we were talking, and, she's got medical stuff. I said, what about, a health savings account? And she goes, I've heard of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, if you're going to be paying 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a year in medical, what are some, I don't want to say chronic conditions, but insulin.
Yeah.
If you're diabetic.
Diabetic, exactly.
If you're a bit older, like my parents are, maybe they've got, medications that they know they're going to have
prescriptions,
to pay for.
So all that fun stuff.
You can save into a health savings account.
And again, the funny part is HR departments don't explain this. But let's say that you're perfectly healthy until you retire, and you're like, man, I got this HSA account sitting out there. What do I do with it? The trigger point is don't do anything with it. Let it sit there. When you retire, you go on Medicare. If you need to pay Part B premiums, basically, you could take it right out of your HSA and pay it tax-free.
It's like
any supplements, you could use that to pay it. So
yeah, it's like it's like an IRA, but can only be spent on health care.
Yes, back in the day, the option was to take your HSA and roll it into an IRA. But now the option is don't do that. Leave it because of the benefit that HSA has of a tax-free withdrawal as long as it's used for medical expenses or premiums or something of that effect.
And then if my mom were to pass away, I love you, Mom, but I need an example. If someone's parents were to pass away and they still had money in that,
beneficiaries would inherit it.
It's just like an IRA, and they'd probably pay some taxes on it.
Yeah. So it's going to pass straight through. So,
and she mentioned this the other day too. She goes, "But what about those things that if I don't use it, I lose it? What's that? What is that use it or lose it thing?"
So those are FSA, same thing you have, but it's done you're doing it from a tuition. You can do it for healthcare. You'd go in and you know what your tuition is going forward. Most people don't know what their health care costs are going to be, but they'll say, oh, I'm going to spend $5,000 for health care.
I know I'm going to spend at least $5,000.
Yeah.
So I can do a flex spending and know that I'm not going to use it or lose it.
Exactly.
But a misconception that people have, my own mother had it.
Yeah.
We're in the car, and I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't sound like what Jeff is telling me.
HSAs, health savings accounts, go with you for life.
Roll over
They
year
roll
after
over
year.
year in, year out.
Yeah.
And as long as you have the high deductible plan, you can contribute into them.
Right.
But the FSAs are a picket. You usually at open enrollment this time of the year, you pick what you're going to spend for next year. And if you don't use it, typically they'll roll over to March 15th of the next year. Mm-hmm. But it just depends upon the trustee. But again, it's the scenario where you have to spend $5,000. So
yeah. And I remember my wife had something going on, and she was like, do you need new glasses? And I said, yeah, in fact, I do. And she goes, well, we need to use it from this account.
Exactly.
Or else it's just going to disappear.
Goes poof.
So they do exist. But here, listen up, everyone. Listen to my voice. Those use it or lose it accounts exist. It's what I'm using for my son's tuition. I know what it's going to be the year before, so I know I'm going to, frankly, I'd like to save more of it. But I know I'm not going to lose it because I'm definitely going to spend it.
Yes.
But those accounts exist. However, the HSAs, these health savings accounts, listen to my voice. They roll over year over year. And then if you have all this in there and by the grace of God, you are healthy as an ox until the day you die.
That's awesome.
It gets doled out to your beneficiaries just like your IRA would. Yep. They pay the taxes on it. Hopefully it's in a trust and you can spread it out over 10 years and all that stuff. But Jeff can help you out with that. But just know that a health savings account itself is not one of these use it or lose it plans.
Yes.
Those exist.
Yeah.
But go to Jeff and he'll set you up with the right ones.
Exactly.
So that is out there, and that, I love myth busting. Like that. Remember that show with those two guys? They Mythbusters.
So there's a girl in there too.
There's a girl, and then there's the young guy, and he was more the science guy. I remember they did, can an old dog learn new tricks? And they got all these old dogs out, and they figured out that's a myth.
Yeah.
You can still teach a dog up until the day they die. Let that be a lesson to all of us.
Yes, most definitely.
But I love hearing myths. Like I'm in the car with my mom, and she thinks that a health savings account is a use it or lose it. And it's like, no.
Yes.
And you're not taking advantage of it because you're scared. Because the last thing, Jeff, I want to do is put money into an account and have it go poof.
That you'd lose it and go, I didn't know what happened.
So she's never started a health savings account because she thinks she might lose it at the end of the year.
Exactly.
And that's just not the case. So the whole point of this show, I think, is education.
Yeah, well, that's primary. Yeah.
That's primary. But the second, that's 1A. Yeah. 1B is now that you have some education, call Jeff.
Yeah.
636-394-5524 over at Capital Advisory Group. We're going to go to a commercial break. I like starting the show off and just reminding everybody Jeff is here for them. He's a senior tax strategist. He's a wealth advisor. He can put both hands together to tell you how to accrue some money in retirement and then how to actually take it out.
Distribution. Yeah.
Take the distribution without getting punched in the gut by the IRS and the taxes. But we talk about stuff that's in the news and, frankly, inflation.
Yeah.
And frankly, we all just went out and, speaking of punching people in the gut, yesterday we were punching each other inside the Walmart.
That's right, chasing each other around Walmart.
Looking for a $7 toaster. You don't need that waffle iron.
Yeah.
You're never going to use it.
You don't need it.
And you just bludgeon someone over it. But we just spent a bunch of money probably yesterday, and we're looking at our credit card statements, and we've got some credit card statement news.
Yes,
for you. Not specifically what's on your credit card statement, but the country.
But in general.
Yeah, the country as a whole. Household debt, believe it or not, it's gone up. We'll talk about it on the other side of this. It is Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall, senior tax strategist and wealth advisor with Capital Advisory Group. 636-394-5524. Give them a call. Leave a voicemail. Say, I need to have a chat. We've got to have a talk about this. I need you to look at my finances and see where can I be keeping more of my money. 636-394-5524. Household debt, it's up, believe it or not. We'll talk about it after this.
Keep What's Yours continues with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
Big 550 KTRS. Keep what's yours with Jeff Zufall. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Zufall, and it is the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Yes, everybody's stuffed, and everybody's looking at their bank accounts and realizing, oh my gosh, I bought too much stuff. Yes,
I'm stuffed. I bought too much stuff. But it's Small Business Saturday, so I need to keep buying.
That's right. Keep buying.
Support local. We are a local radio station. You are a local tax advisor with Capital Advisory Group. So you're a local small business. We're a local small business. And keep supporting us, please.
Yes.
And then, Giving Tuesday, let's not forget the charitable.
Got to save a little bit of money for next week.
Save some money for the charities. Cyber Monday, which, basically they've been offering deals for the last month. Yeah. What the heck is Cyber Monday?
Well, hopefully they get better.
Right. If last week was,
the greatest,
the deals. So our bank accounts probably don't look too hot right now.
No.
But maybe we're done shopping for Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hopefully it's all done.
But you've got some news on household debt, and it ain't good.
Yes. So this kind of takes us down this path, a weird path. But it's saying that the household debt soared to its fastest pace in 15 years due to credit card use. That's basically it. And this is coming from the Federal Reserve. So on top of Black Friday, everything that's taken place, they're saying that the credit card balances collectively rose more than 15% from the same period in 2021, and it's the largest annual jump in almost 20 years. And this is the New York Fed saying this in their report that they released.
So credit card debt is up 15%.
Yes.
But inflation has been running, what are the latest numbers on
we
inflation?
Were at 8.3. We're currently 7.7.
And what was the highest?
8.4, I think, or 8.5 was the highest.
Inflation is running 7 to 9%.
Yes.
Why is our credit card debt up 15%?
That's the question of the day. So again, the inflation side of it, the question is this: there's some people out there saying, "Hey, that's it's tamed, it's under control, we're on the downswing now," and there's others out there going, "Don't get too excited just yet." Federal Reserve, again, will raise rates again first week of December. They're typically going to be 0.5%. But what they're saying, this decrease from 8.3 to 7.7 is, and all administrations do it, prior to an election, they tap the strategic reserve, oil reserves. Mm-hmm. And what that does is bring down the actual cost of fuel. And then as soon as the election's over, they flip the switch, turn it off.
Yeah, we don't need, you guys already voted.
Yeah, you voted. We know where you're at.
We're going to stop giving you gifts.
So what they're saying is we may see inflation tick back up.
Because gas prices will go back up.
Because gas prices are part of the equation. So
now, well, let me ask you this. This inflation number, 7.7, 8.5, what is that the economy as a whole?
Yes.
So that includes stuff we buy from the grocery store,
yes.
Stuff we buy from Target, cars, boats, gasoline.
So the inflation that we see, or the numbers that we see from the Federal Reserve, is X food and oil. So they take food out and they take oil out.
Oh, they do. Oh,
to do this, and I say it's probably not the way to explain it, but it's a skewed number. And what they're trying to do is...
So what's left?
Everything else.
I mean, let me look at my bank account. All I'm doing is buying groceries and gas.
Exactly. So the funny part, though, is and we always thought back in the day that this guy was somebody hiding in his mom's basement, and it's called Shadowstats. And this guy literally, for the last, I think, 12 years, has actually given people around the country, geographically set up, a list of items to buy on the same day, same afternoon, and then he compiles all his data together.
So real world
numbers.
Boots on the ground.
He's more like 18.8 is where he's at.
Yeah. Okay. There's where that's what I was getting at. So real world, if they take food and gas out of the inflation equation,
yes,
I'm questioning what's left.
Well,
but what are we actually buying? Food and gas. So what's the real inflation? So if credit card debt is up 15%, inflation's only up 8%.
Hypothetically, from the Feds, it's 7.7, but the shadow stat saying, hey, it's more like 18.8.
So if you take food out of the equation, but this guy is actually putting it back
in.
What does my Captain Crunch cost me on November 30th last year versus November 30th this year.
Well, basically, if it was 80 cents last year, it's $1 this year, or 97 cents this year.
And that's 20. Yeah, that's 20%.
About 20%.
So that's the real stat. So
Yes.
when the credit card is up credit card debt's up 15%, that's because people are actually buying groceries.
Exactly. So remember, our economy is based upon consumption. It literally every factor that's set out there. The savings rates are probably negative, be honest with you, but everything is on consumption of a product.
I've seen my savings accounts go way down.
Way down. Exactly.
Just trying to keep up.
So that's the concern. The concern is after 2008, we saw the rise up to 2008. You saw where the debt was still higher. And then all of a sudden, once 2008 hit and everybody realized, wow, this can really happen, people paid off their debt, and basically it dropped. And it's reversing that course, and it's due to inflation. So the question is an increase in the balances, are we going to see an increase in delinquencies? And then that's kind of what they start to set the tone going forward for a recession.
Yeah, you missed a credit card payment.
Exactly.
Because you couldn't make it.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, and far be it for me to question the Fed, but these numbers, these inflation numbers, aren't true.
Technically, they're not
real. They should come out every month and say the inflation number is this. The food inflation number, the grocery store inflation number is this.
They do, but
and the gasoline number.
It's a deep report. It takes a lot of reading to find it, but it will give you, new cars, used cars, food, gas. It gives you a breakdown on everything. And then what they're doing is they're adding that together. What they're trying to do hypothetically is take the peaks and the valleys out of inflation. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day,
again, the question is, what am I actually spending my money on?
Yeah.
Food and gas.
Food and gas. That's it.
That's it. I'm not buying,
well, and that's, and
pillows
so,
and.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where we sit today. And the question is, again, the economy, corporate profits are through the roof still. And I say through the roof. They're better than expected. But unemployment is running at like 3.4, I think, is the latest.
Still really low.
Super low. But again, then the question is okay, not to say that we're in a new era and it's different this time, by no means. They're the same. But the question is who's really being reported in this unemployment? It's 3.4%, but the IRS has also come out, and I think we've talked about this in the past, they've come out in the last 2 years and said more people have created tax ID numbers with the IRS, which means that they're creating their own little corporations and going out on their own. So the question is, are they really being included in this 3.4% unemployment, or are they now not existing?
They started their own businesses,
yes.
and now they're not on unemployment.
Exactly. And they can't claim unemployment because they're self-employed.
Right.
So,
well, that's kind of the headline here. Household debt is
starting
higher.
to escalate quickly.
Mm-hmm. Our credit card bill is up 15%. Our credit card debt is up 15% over last year.
The good news, if there is it's saying that the total auto loans were higher, but the total student loan debt nudged lower. And you go,
Wow.
So it's basically the student loan debt is the lowest since the second quarter of 2021.
Okay, what does that mean? Are people paying off their loans, or are the universities not charging as much?
I think it's kind of a combination on a bunch of stuff, and a lot of people were sitting and waiting, to try to see what was going to take place with this loan forgiveness, which apparently it's
frozen as of now.
I'd say it's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
They shut down all the websites, and it's just kind of funny how after the election, 5 days after the election, all of a sudden they go, oh, sorry, we can't do that.
Hey, isn't that great? They promise us something to get us to vote them into office, and then 5 days after the election,
they're like, oh, sorry. The Supreme Court said that we can't do that. But nobody seems to be fighting to say, hey, no, we're going to do that.
Right. You know what?
And then they just shut down the website. So
remember when I told you I was going to get you? I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But I already voted for you. Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Yeah, well, the problem is how much money did they spend to have somebody build a website on student loan forgiveness or forbearance, and then they just flip the switch and turn it off and go, oops, sorry, we don't need this.
And like, to say it's all a sham, I'm not going to get into that. That could get political and all that stuff, and we don't do that here. Yeah. But to think that to try to get our votes, they spend our money to try to get our votes, and then when it comes rubber to road, they never come through. Yeah. It sounds like a politician to me.
Yes, true and true.
Wow, that sounds just like a politician.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, let's just take another run at this. Household debt is up. Credit card debt is at 15%. Regular inflation is at 7.5%. But 7.7. But what's the difference here? What are we?
Well, the skewed numbers from the Federal Reserve says it's 7.7. The reality of it is the true numbers, and again, we're using this guy's data, which is called Shadowstats. He's 18.8. So
the real
that's real out of pocket.
At my grocery store, me buying the things that I need.
Yep, you go to the grocery store this afternoon, and it's going to cost you way more than what it did, a year ago.
All right, those are the numbers we actually need to look at,
because that's what costs money on a daily basis going forward.
All right, what does my money really get me, and how much more am I paying on stuff in reality versus what the Fed is saying? That's really what I want to know.
Yeah.
So, maybe these shadow stats, maybe we can mention those a little bit more often here on the show.
We will.
That's the real cost of money and the real cost of goods and services these days. We'll go to commercial break, but when we come back, layoffs.
Yes.
Is this the start of our true recession? Amazon, Meta, Twitter.
Yes.
all laid a bunch of people off, but that's just in one industry. We'll see if it's going to be a domino effect. The IRS is making strides in getting people's tax returns actually returned.
Returned, exactly. That's a good way to phrase it.
We'll touch on that as well. And here's just a tip. We'll get into this a little bit more, but if you need to talk to the IRS, do not write them a letter.
No.
That is the last thing they need. They're drowning in paperwork right now, and they've just put out another reminder to people: don't send us a letter.
Yes.
There's other ways to contact the IRS if you need an update on your return. We'll go to commercial break. It's Keep What's Yours with Jeff Zufall. He's the senior tax strategist and wealth advisor with Capital Advisory Group. And Jeff, let me ask you this just really quickly while we're on the topic. I have come to see you to do my taxes in April. We chatted again over the summer. We're chatting again here shortly because of open enrollment and trying to get my wife set up for 2023. Have people come in to see you within the past year and said, inflation is killing me, and you guys have made adjustments based off inflation?
Yes. We've and where we see it is we see people coming in and they're like, hey, I need $500 more a month.
I'm on a fixed income.
Yeah.
But
that's where we're seeing
number
it. And the fixed number's not cutting it.
Ain't going to make it anymore.
So we're seeing the people that are on, regular monthly income that we send to them are asking for more. Yeah. And they're typically the people that don't ask, they're not squandering their money, but they're like, hey, it's getting tighter and tighter as we go forward, and that's inflation.
Has anyone ever said, look, all right, set me up to, cross my fingers, hope I live to 90. Set me up until 90. And then they actually live to be 98.
Yeah. So
do they run out of money?
Well, hypothetically, that's what you're preventing. So even if somebody says, I'm going to retire, I'll never retire, I'll die at my desk, we're shooting for 95 minimum.
95 minimum?
Yes.
With everyone?
With everybody.
You don't base it off family history?
Well, no, because the one that you say, oh, okay, you only make it to 70, lives to 105.
Yeah.
Because again,
and they're working at Walmart.
Yeah. And so the problem is in the past, typically, look at medical, I'll say scenarios today. From a medical aspect, 10 years ago, there's stuff that they could fix, cure, prolong that you would have today that you didn't have 10 years ago. So even 10, 15, 20 years in the future, what's it look like?
I mean, I tell my wife all the time, medical breakthroughs being what they are, we're going to live to be 120.
Exactly.
And we're going to look like we're 100.
Exactly. And that's, 120 is the, 35.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's what you got to worry about. So when we start to project this out, it's not that you will spend your last dollar the day that you turn 95. By no means. There's still money there. And I've had clients say, well, I don't want to leave all that money there. And it's not designed to leave it to the kids.
Can't take it with you.
We're spending it or making sure that you get to spend it if you live past 95.
Yeah. Heaven forbid you get a terrible diagnosis, then drain the account.
Yeah, then different story. But you always have to keep that money sitting there. So
just in
you
case.
Shoot for 95. And in the planning aspect, maybe in the next 10, 15 years, it may go to 100.
Yeah.
But most of the software says everybody kicks a bucket at 95.
I've always heard that, there's two sides to this coin. They say that there's things that you can do to your body to keep you going, but sometimes your brain is just not built to last 100 plus years. And then I've heard other people say, well, your brain's fine, but your body just breaks down. We need to come up with something to keep both of them
happy medium.
going and exercise in both of them and make sure that we when we're 120, we feel
exactly.
Like you said, 100 is the new 70.
Exactly.
But what Jeff is in charge of is to make sure not that you're fit and able to still get out and ski when you're 103. Skydive. It's to make sure that you have the money
yes.
to do it.
Yes,
give him a call, senior tax strategist and wealth advisor with Capital Advisory. CapitalAdvisoryGrp.com. Capital Advisory Group. I was about to go on and say, I'm going to call my wife on my way home and tell her, honey, we're going to live to 95. And then after that, we're going to be greeters at Walmart.
That's right.
But with Jeff's help, we won't have to worry about that.
We'll keep you from doing it.
Yeah. 636-394-5524. Give him a call. Have him take a look at your 2 years of tax returns.
Yes.
A couple of paycheck stubs.
Yes.
And then
401k, any investment statements that you have, that's what we need to bring.
Kind of eyeball it, and in 10, 15, 20 minutes, you can get a pretty decent idea of where they're sitting.
Yeah.
And just say, look, there's a couple of things that we can do, and just start exploring that way. Got to know a little background information on your situation, but you bring that to him, and he can just kind of take a look at it and say, well, number one, your withholdings are too low.
Exactly.
You had to pay a bunch in taxes this year because you weren't having enough taken out.
We stumbled onto one last year that had no state withholding at all on their W-2. How that got through, I don't know.
The state shouldn't let you submit that.
They shouldn't, but somehow there was an oopsie, and it went through. No state withholding at all.
So that was a big tax bill.
They had a huge tax bill to the state, and it was like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? That's impossible. And it's like, well, look, here's your W-2, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So we never heard back whether or not the employer oopsied and really withheld it, but didn't put it on their W-2.
But they can't go to the state and say, "Oh, my employer messed up."
No, there's nothing you can say. State's going to say, "Hey, you owe us."
I don't have to pay this, right?
Yeah. State's going to say, and if you didn't pay it on time, you owe penalties and interest just because it wasn't paid.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the thing. Make sure on every paycheck that you get, it's not just something on April 15th.
Yeah.
That you have to wear. Every paycheck you get, take a look at it and just say, am I having enough withheld?
And if you get halfway through the year and you see 0 for a state withholding or 0 for a federal withholding,
that's a problem.
That's an issue.
But, your paychecks are going to be lower for the rest of the year, but you could probably play catch up.
Exactly.
So that you don't have any penalties and you don't have a big tax bill waiting for you. All right. Go to commercial break. When we come back, is greedflation a thing? Where are the layoffs coming? Are we about to hit a true recession? The current recession doesn't look like a normal recession.
No, not even close.
But we'll take a look. Is there a true recession on the horizon? And the IRS actually, believe it or not, making strides to get your tax returns back to you from 2021?
Yes.
Boy, that seems like a distant memory.
It does.
Keep what's yours with Jeff Zufall, 636-394-5524. Call him today, get an appointment on the schedule, and go to the appointment and show him what your situation currently is, and he can almost guaranteed find you a little place where you can keep a little bit more of your money. We'll be back right after this.
Keep What's Yours continues with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall.
on the Big 550 KTRS. Keep what's yours with Jeff Zufall. If you want to go out to the CapitalAdvisoryGrp.com website, you can push a button at the top. It's at the top of...
Yes, top right side.
Top right side. It says, give me my book, or get the free book.
Free book.
Or, hey, book me now.
Yeah, we'll ship you one.
Send it to your house, and you can start thumbing through it. I have it in front of me right now. And I've already thumbed through it, and I've already earmarked a couple of pages, because not only in here is it stuff that pertains to me, but you specialize in small businesses.
Yes.
So if anyone needs an account, well, would you call yourself an accountant?
Technically, yes. We do bookkeeping, QuickBooks, payroll, all that fun stuff too.
Yeah.
So yes, if you have a small business, we can help you out with that. We can help you out with the day-to-day profit-loss scenarios. If anybody is working on QuickBooks themselves, we can we'll look over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So we have a whole team that can help you with that. I don't actively engage in that.
Sure.
Have
under one roof,
Yeah.
you got everybody there.
Yes.
You mentioned just a second ago that we are heading into an unknown where it does look like we might see the real effects of a true recession. Currently, a recession is what?
So the technical term is 2 consecutive quarters of negative gross domestic product. So it's a negative GDP number.
2 quarters in a row.
Which first and second quarter we hit that.
Mm-hmm.
No sweat. The problem is again, the environment that we're sitting in today is we still have, I'll call it, very profitable corporations and low unemployment. So
in a normal recession, not to say that every recession runs the same, but normally when we hit a recession, we should expect to see corporate profits
come down,
and then they start laying people off.
And they start laying people off. So unemployment comes up, corporate profits come down. So our problem is all this year
corporate profits are way up, and people can't find enough people to work.
And so it's a 3.4% unemployment rate. So then the question comes back is, who is really calculated in that 3.4? And the problem what will take place is as the Fed raises rates, what they're really trying to do is they're not trying to kill the market. They could, that's the side product or byproduct of this, is they're trying to slow the economy down. They're tightening up cash.
Stop borrowing money.
Yes. And so what takes place is then people will kind of slowly back off on because again, our economy is built on consumption. So the theory is they will squeeze the consumer enough that the consumer will quit buying, and in turn that will bring down corporate profits.
Keep buying, but maybe stop buying so much.
Yes.
We don't want to throw the brakes on the economy. I'm thinking of like a train pulling that lever and everybody's luggage goes flying forward.
Well, that's you hear a soft landing or a hard landing.
Yeah.
And that means how well does the Federal Reserve pull this off? And that's to be determined.
Yeah. So
there's, like I said, there's another rate hike coming in December, first week of December, which is a week away, week and a half away. So the odds are it's a half a point increase. And then hypothetically, the Fed is data dependent. So they will stop, they will pause, if you want to call it that, to kind of see what damage they did or didn't do. Consensus is probably March, April of next year, 23. They will go, oops, we didn't do enough, and they start raising rates again. And then there's another set that's saying, no, they've already done enough. It just needs to take effect. And so that they would decrease rates going into the first quarter of next year, which will spark the economy and get it back on track again. Question is, we don't know who's wrong or right.
Right. Well, while we're talking about what a real recession looks like, unemployment going up, that's one of the things that you can see in a real recession. And we're starting to see that at least in one field.
We're seeing it in 2 fields. Tech and homes. So,
okay. So the
refinancing,
refinancing,
the loan brokers, those guys are falling. By
because the
tens
rates are
of
so
thousands.
high, people aren't refinancing.
Nobody's refinancing, very few people are buying. But again, you got to step back for a minute and look and say, okay, rates are probably 6.5 today.
Well, the gal that refinanced, my house and our condo down in Gulf Shores just put a pool in.
Yeah.
So she might want to kind of hold off on her spending for a second.
Yes, just a little, just to see what takes place.
The last 2 years was, gangbusters, but now she needs to kind of probably
slow
watch
down
your pennies.
probably just a bit, because it will just, interest rates alone will start to slow that side down. A lot of the real estate agents in the Midwest aren't seeing they're seeing a little decline, but they're not panic stricken yet. Because again, anybody under probably the age of 40 has never seen a interest rate higher than, say, 5%.
Oh my, Jeff! If you asked me to pay a 5% interest rate,
you'd be like,
"Are you kidding me?"
So again,
no, I'm used to paying 2.5%.
Exactly. So anybody that's newer into the housing arena is looking at this stuff, going, "Hey, I got 2.25, 2.5 max." And now they're being asked to pay 6.5. But there's a whole nother element out there
Parents
who
pay
paid
15.
Exactly, 14, 15, 16%,
Yeah.
and that's coming from the late 80s when interest rates were 16, 17%.
And tell me this. I mean, you're a wealth advisor. You're a senior tax strategist. You kind of have an idea of budgeting for people's lives. Even if the interest rate is 6%, it might be better to still buy the house rather than rent an apartment and just throw the money away.
Exactly. So that's the question. We see that question all the time is, I'm going to wait a little bit. You go, you're probably still better off buying.
You're not doing as good as you would have.
Exactly.
Maybe the house isn't as big as it would have been.
Exactly.
But it's still a better idea than to throw your money away with rent.
Yeah. And so you're starting to see the weird part, though, is you're starting to see, at least around us, starting to see a lot of apartment complexes being built.
Yes.
And you scratch your head and you go, what's going on here?
Chesterfield Valley.
Yes,
like everywhere you
boom
turn,
town.
there's another apartment complex going on.
So you go, And I think even they announced last week.
Here in Westport.
Right here, they're going to start doing stuff.
Apartment buildings are going to go up.
So you go, okay, where are they going? But I think what they're heading into is when you go into a true deep recession, a lot of people will rent versus buy. So the rents could be pushed up a little bit higher and go from there. So, but again,
it'd be a good time to be a landlord.
Yes. So what you see though is you see the housing market starting to I'll say slow a tiny bit. You're seeing the inspectors, the appraisers, people like that are saying, "Hey, my business is drying up." So yes, there's an issue there. And then the flip side is tech. Tech right now is just out of favor. I'll say all but Twitter. Twitter, if you watch anything, it's just weird. Yeah. He fired everybody, and then he hired half back.
Came back and said, "Woo,
yeah, we need you back." And
then somebody says something about him on Twitter, he fires him.
He fires him again, exactly. So that's a little bizarre. But like Meta, Facebook laid off a ton of people. Amazon laid off not the warehouse people, but the actual executives.
And they laid off 10,000 people, and that was still only like an eighth of their workforce.
Yeah. So they originally announced that it was just a hiring freeze, is what they said. That was 2-3 weeks ago, and then they came along and said, "Oh, nope, we're laying off all these people."
And from what I read, it was the engineers that made Alexa better. It was the people in the C-suites. It was people, in the corporate offices, not the guy that's putting our
this one will really
moisturizer in a box and sending it out the door.
Yeah. This one is the funny one is going into the holiday season. FedEx laid a bunch of people off.
That's
and
a
you
terrible
just scratch
idea.
your head and go, what? Now, is it people that so this I'll say hybrid work environment. It might be twisting a little bit or turning a little bit to where it's going to be back a lot. The companies want people to show back up in the office. Mm-hmm. A lot of the employees are fighting, saying, "Hey, I work from home. I can still I'm way more productive, et cetera." But that's kind of that FedEx thing that's kind of the people that they were letting go. So again, you go, they go into the holiday season. That's when they start hiring people like there's no tomorrow. But they're laying people off. So
I wonder if through the pandemic, companies and corporations, we haven't seen huge. I mean, we still see people begging. We need people.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they're realizing, oh my gosh, this pandemic and people working from home versus we realized maybe we don't need as many people as we thought we did.
That's what Meta or Facebook said. They said that we don't need these people. We've realized that we can function without them. Yeah. And they were all working from home. And
they're all wearing their virtual reality hats and playing online while they're supposed to be working. Maybe we just didn't need them to begin with.
That's what they say. So,
but Jeff, in the grand scheme of things, Twitter lays off half of its staff.
Yeah.
Meta has a big dump of employees, 10,000 people going away from Amazon. Is that something we need to be worried about, or are these companies just pretty bloated?
The theory is those companies are bloated. But again,
where are 10,000 former Amazon employees going to go?
Exactly. That's the question of the day. Some of them will go create their own side gigs and start doing something like that, but the others just have to go find a job. But the theory is you could go find a job anywhere, but yet when you really get down to it, maybe not. I mean, that's the question.
Well, I mean, it is the holiday season, so maybe that chief engineer at Amazon can go work in the warehouse. They drive an Amazon truck.
That's right. You've seen more and more Amazon trucks running up and down your street.
I tell you, if Mr. Dorsey ever said, "Josh, you're fired," I'd invest in one of those Amazon trucks.
That's right.
Just drive around and listen to talk radio.
And throwing your packages out the window.
Yeah. Wonder what might have been. So we've got inflation. Is it manufactured inflation? Is it greedflation? We can't really answer that.
Not yet. We will be able to see that going forward. I mean, there's two camps of thought. One says that this is, a corporate, grab, and they're just going to get us.
I mean, I hate to keep pointing out Procter & Gamble, but they said, we've noticed that our customers don't mind paying higher prices, so we're going to raise them again.
There is how would you say it? There is a amount that you will pay for every good or service, and at some point in time, you'll say, "Nope, I'm done."
Yeah,
and you walk away.
And they seem to be kind of pushing.
They're testing that threshold, but again, if you're the widget manufacturer and you saw your supply chain issues in the past 2 years, and you saw it go up by 30 cents or 40 cents percent, 30 or 40 cents per widget, you're going to raise your prices by 10. And that's basically what the Federal Reserve is trying to fight today. Is they're late to the game. All the corporations had a 2-year jump on them because they kept raising rates.
So it's like it's 30 cents more per widget, but now you're charging me, the customer, 80 cents more per widget. Yeah. I mean, there's a difference there.
There's a difference, but there's a price point out there where people will refuse to pay it. Period.
I don't think we've hit that yet.
No, we haven't. Starbucks coffee. There's a point out there where you go, am I going to pay $7 for a cup of coffee when I could go buy a whole bag of it?
Well, it's like you go to New York and Chicago and say $12 for a pack of cigarettes.
Exactly.
People are paying it.
They're paying it though. So if they raise it to 13, but they lose X percent, they're still making their margins.
Yeah.
So
will we be able to look back 10 years from now and say, was this a manufactured inflation event?
Probably a couple years, and be able to look at that and say, hey, look at this, what took place.
Yeah.
Kind of a study in human nature.
Look, I'm not going to call out the burrito place, but my burrito was smaller than normal, and it cost $3 more.
Yes.
And I didn't even, they made me order it online. I couldn't even order it at the counter.
Yeah.
They were like, don't even come in here until you order online. So I'm just wondering, where's all the money going?
Yes. I went into, was at McDonald's in Ellisville. First time in a long time, I went inside, and you can't talk to anybody.
Oh, they got the kiosk.
It's a kiosk.
The touch
screen. I was like, huh? I'm like looking around.
I've noticed, they've got one computer open, but the person's not standing there. But if I stand there long enough, they'll finally come over and go, did you not see the kiosk?
Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah, and I'll say, no, I want to order from you. And they'll say, fine.
Yeah.
They'll put their hat back on.
I watched a couple people, and I watched them order, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. So my age is showing there.
I got used to it because they have one of those up at the airport at the Burger King. So I was like, I'm going to skip the line. I'm just going to punch it in. But anyway, we'll find out a couple of years from now, and maybe we'll still be on the air a couple of years from now, and we can break it all down for you. But the real truth of the matter is, here's the minutes of the show. Household debt is up.
Way up.
Credit card debt is up.
Yes.
Your inflation is running at 7.7% right now, but credit card debt is up 15%. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Well, the price of goods
is really the true is probably 18.8.
If you go and look at your grocery bill compared to last year, you're probably looking at 18% more. But the Fed doesn't necessarily put that into that.
They tried to discount our overpaying those inflation numbers.
They don't count groceries and gas, which is actually the only thing I'm spending money on
Yeah,
these days.
which is cost you the most.
Yeah.
So,
So these are the things that are going on in the world today. And if you need help with your own personal finances to say, I don't have as much free money to spend, maybe I can save some money on taxes.
yes, exactly.
Give
it's the
Jeff
easy
a call.
one.
It's the one that's hanging out there right now that you can do
Yes.
automatic. You don't have to get a second job.
And it's coming around the corner, too.
My second job is saving money on my tax bill. 636-394-5524, CapitalAdvisoryGrp.com. October was financial planning month, but every month should be financial planning
Yes.
month. So you didn't miss out.
Mm-hmm.
You can start planning for 2023 now and have Jeff kind of hold your hand and walk you through it. It's a ongoing conversation.
Yes, week in, week out.
It's not April 15th. It's not even every time you get I say every time you get a paycheck, you need to reevaluate what's
Yes,
going on.
just
Take a
look at it.
Look at the stub.
Yep.
But it is an everyday thing, especially when we see how much things actually cost at the
Mm-hmm.
pump and at the grocery stores.
Oh, yeah.
So keep an eye on it and make sure that if you need help, you give Jeff Zufall a call. 636-394-5524. Capital Advisory Group, CapitalAdvisoryGrp.com. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. See you next week.
You've been listening to Keep What's Yours with Josh Gilbert and Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Manager at Capital Advisory Group. To learn more, call 636-394-5524 or visit CapitalAdvisoryGrp.com.